What up, everybody? You're watching New York Giants Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We're about to get into a mailbag where we answer questions from subscribers. If I didn't get to your question today, give me a follow over on Twitter at @MarshallGreen_, and we can chop it up about Big Blue over there. First question and a super chat coming from Gili Gili. What up, Gili? Says, do we sign Semuelo or not? The interior offensive lineman from the Philadelphia Eagles. I love Isaac Semuelo. I think he's one of the best interior offensive linemen in the National Football League. Really, really strong as a run blocker. He just creates holes for his running backs on his team. Good pass blocker as well. My only thing, Gilly, is I don't know if he's going to be too expensive for the Giants. I think Semuelo is going to be maybe the most expensive interior offensive lineman in NFL free agency. And I could see him wanting to stay with the Eagles if he does take somewhat of a discount. But if the Giants want to pay Semuelo all that money, I think it would be a great move. I think he'd instantly become the second best offensive lineman on your team. He'd play that left guard spot, him at the left guard, Andrew Thomas at the left tackle spot. That left side of the line would be locked down for years to come. I'd love to get him. I just worry if the money is going to be, he's going to be wanting too much money compared to what Joe Shane and Big Blue is willing to offer. Talent-wise, yes, I would love to have him. It's going to come down to the cheddar at this point of the offseason. Anthony Raza with a $5 super chat, my man, always tuning in. Hope all is well, bro. He said, should sign Danny, we should sign Daniel Jones till Arch Manning comes out, then we move up. I would like to see what Arch Manning does at Texas before we talk about drafting into the Giants. I know the last name Manning in the New York Football Giants. There's some pretty cool stories. I think maybe a Super Bowl or two against the best quarterback and coach of all time. Don't really remember that. Do you remember that, producer Rolly, Patriots fan? Nothing to say. Didn't think so. Just gave me the middle finger. Look, I would love to get another Manning to play quarterback for the Giants. Can I just see what he does at Texas before I say I want him to be the next quarterback for Big Blue? I think he's going to be great. I would just like to see what he can do at least in college before I say we move up for him. But hey, if we sign Daniel Jones and his time runs out when Arch Manning's in the draft, sure, F it. Let's move up. Let's go get our guy Arch. Next question coming from, why does Marsh hate RJ? All right. Should the Giants sign Carson Wentz for competition for Daniel Jones? You guys are getting creative with the questions today. No, the Giants should not sign Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz, to quote a wise man that works at Chat Sports, is cheeks. That's what Carson Wentz is. There's a reason the Washington Commanders are cutting him. There's a reason that he's not going to be on a football team and he's just been cut. There's a reason that the Eagles didn't keep him and that the Colts didn't keep him and now that Washington didn't keep him. Played 8 games this past year, had 9 interceptions. He is a turnover machine. I'm all in for bringing in competition for Daniel Jones, but that does not include Carson Wentz. I do not want to pay a quarterback good money because I don't think Carson Wentz would come on the cheap to compete. Carson Wentz is washed. He's cooked. He's done. He's finito. Shout out to Chief Keef. No, I do not think the Giants should go out and sign him. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you guys want to sign Carson Wentz. Let me know. Should the Giants sign good old Wentzzy to give some competition for Daniel Jones? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. I am answering hell no. OJ with a $2 super chat. I appreciate it, man. It says, hot take, but what about Chris Godwin for a second? Sign me up. I would love to trade our second round pick for Chris Godwin. I'm a big fan of Godwin at the wide receiver position. I think he would fit in perfectly for what the Giants want to do. He could be that big, strong slot that could dominate over the middle of the field and be kind of that safety valve for a young Daniel Jones. I am a little concerned that he's already torn his ACL. Still only 26 or 27, but he is just a solid receiver. And I think a second-round pick could get it done. It's just all going to come down to the willingness of Tampa Bay and if they kind of want to blow it up, or do they think they can get a quarterback in to come and help them and compete. I love Chris Godwin. I think he'd fit perfectly with Joe Shane and Brian Dable and Mike Kafka. And I think he'd be that vet that Daniel Jones can rely on. I would absolutely do it. I would trade a second-round pick for Godwin tomorrow. Rob Jigga says Michael Mayer, Dalton Kincaid, Oregon State, Luke Musgrave, Georgia, Darnell Washington, South Dakota State, Tucker Kraft, and Sam Laporta. I'm guessing these are all tight ends from the NFL draft. I'm a big fan of Dalton Kincaid. I think he's one of the best receiving tight ends the draft has seen in a while. I just don't know if the Giants want to draft a tight end with a first-round pick, and that's where I think Mayer and Kincaid are going to go, and I don't know if Washington or the other guys are going to be on the clock when the Giants are on the clock coming the second round. I like Kincaid a lot. He's probably my number one tight end in the class. I also love Darnell Washington, the big run blocker, as well as a great pass catcher out of Georgia. Giants need more playmakers. If they're the best playmakers on the board at 25, I would do it. But I think there's some more holes that are more impactful and have more of a need for the Giants than tight end. But I wouldn't be mad if they did, draft maybe Mayer or Kincaid with pick number 25. We're going to get to more questions coming up in a second on today's mailbag. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to today's sponsor, and that is Cultivate. Go to wecultivate.us/chatsports. That link is in the comments and description of today's show, which is sponsored by Cultivate, the free browser extension that brings transparency to your Amazon shopping experience. Cultivate shows you the brand, seller, or product origin and identifies local alternatives that support local community efforts while saving you money. With over 50% of Amazon U.S. sellers based in China, Cultivate offers a way to avoid trickery from these sellers and keep money in the U.S. economy. Cultivate offers alternatives that are on average 30% less than Amazon without any additional costs such as Amazon Prime. It can even identify local alternatives that you can pick up the same day. Cultivate users earn free donations as rewards for using the extension, and the more you use it, the more you earn it in donations by increasing your level. In fact, Cultivate donates 51% of the revenue they make on your purchases. So what are you waiting for? Go to wecultivate.us/chatsports and download Cultivate for free. Let Cultivate bring transparency, savings, and community support to your Amazon shopping journey. Support the show and download with our link. It's down in the comments and description of today's show. It's also right here. wecultivate.us/chatsports. Get started today. Save some money. Avoid the tricksters. That link is in the comments and description of today's show. Zach with a $2 super chat. What up, Brody? He says, should the Giants try to land Bobby Wagner? Sure. I'm not willing to break the bank, though, on Bobby Wagner. I don't really want to pay a linebacker too much money in NFL free agency, and especially one like Bobby Wagner who only has a couple of years left. He's still one of, if not the best off-ball linebacker in the NFL. And I believe CBS Sports, I may be wrong by who did it, but they put out an article highlighting the top 5 landing spots for Wagner in free agency, and the Giants were number 3 on that list. Giants need a linebacker. They could use a vet on defense. I think Wagner makes sense, but I think Wagner wants to go to a team where he feels like he is the piece away from raising that team from a contender to a Super Bowl powerhouse. I don't know if he feels that way about the Giants. I think he would make us much better. I love Wagner. I'm not willing to pay him too much, though. And I don't really like to give him 1 year. The age is concerning, but man, he is a great freaking linebacker. Micah Gibson with a comment says, T. Higgins for a second and a fourth. I don't think you're getting T. Higgins, Micah, without giving up at least 1 first-round pick. Go back and look at the trades from last year. A.J. Brown went for a first-round and a fourth-round pick. Devontae Adams went for a first-round pick. Tyreek Hill went for a first-round pick. I think even Hollywood Brown from the Cardinals went for a first-round pick. A young receiver like T. Higgins, I think, could be traded because I think the Bengals are one of the most cash-poor franchises in the NFL. And they know they have to pay Joe Burrow a lot of money. They know they got to pay Jamar Chase a lot of money. do they want to pay 2 receivers a lot of money? I think they inevitably will because they know that this is a time in their franchise that they may not ever get better than with a top 5 QB in the NFL. And I don't think that you can get T. Higgins for anything less than a first. So, yes, I would do this trade, Micah, but I think the Bengals do not do this trade. I do know this. If you want to be a part of our future mailbags, it's an easy 2-step process. 1, you got to be subscribed to the channel. So go down right now, hit that big red sub button. And 2, turn on your notifications so you could be alerted anytime we go live on the channel. We like to interact with the audience. We pride ourselves on audience interaction. This is one of our favorite ways to do that. So subscribe so you could be featured on our next mailbag. Gili back again, showing mad love today. Shout out to Gili. Any chance we can get D-Hop for a second? I think a second for DeAndre Hopkins would get it done. And I am in the camp that I at least would want to look into that possibility if I was Joe Schoen. I know he's a little bit older, and I know he's making a lot of money, but he's a damn good wide receiver. And I still think D-Hop is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. I don't think you can even compare him to Golden Tate and to Kenny Golladay because I think he's so much better than those guys. I think Hopkins would step in and be your number 1 wide receiver, be the big brother and the outside dominant threat on this offense that Daniel Jones can lean on. I think he elevates this offense. I think it takes more pressure off of Jones and off of Barkley. And you can't single team Hopkins for all 60 minutes in a football game. And I think the Giants would be absolutely much better with him. And I think a second-round pick is fair. Anything more than that, I would have a little bit more cause for concern. But Gili, if the Cardinals called me up and said, hey, would you trade your second-round pick for Hopkins? I would say done, and let's get the flight itinerary down so D-Hop could get to New York. Johnson, what up, Brody? Says Baker Mayfield as another QB option. No. No. If you're thinking about a guy to replace Daniel Jones, I'd rather it just be Tyrod Taylor for a year and then go to the draft. I don't really see the point of getting Faker Mayfield here. F Faker. Wow. We have a coming to earth moment right here. Producer Nick Roloff has a burner account. Rolly the GOAT coming in says, Yo, Marsh, did you read the CBS article that had Saquon Barkley going to the Cowboys? I do. I did see that article, Rolly the GOAT, which this is probably just Rolly right now on his phone. I did see that article. It was like a mock draft for NFL free agency, and they had the Cowboys selecting Saquon Barkley. I would be in absolute shambles if I ever saw Saquon Barkley play with that damn star on his helmet and the 55 shades of blue that they have on their jerseys. It would suck. And no, I don't want that to happen. So I just want to ask you guys this question. Because I'd be in shambles. I'd be upset. I'd be complaining, saying, Joe Schoen, how'd you let that happen? How'd you not pay him the money? So I want to ask you, how would you feel about Saquon to the Cowboys? I'd be in shambles. I'd cry. I'd probably take it up with Rolly because he planted this freaking idea out into the universe. Let me know, how would you feel about Saquon Barkley playing for the Cowboys? I'll tell you this much. The thought of that makes me want to have to pay him whatever it takes for that not to happen. I mean, they're going to cut Zeke, and I think Tony Pollard is a guy they might let go in free agency. So I guess it makes some sense, but I could never live in a world like that. If you hate the Cowboys, type F Dallas in the comment section. Appreciate everybody for tuning in to today's show. A lot of fun. Love answering questions. Love doing mailbags with you guys. We can also chop it up on Twitter @MarshallGreen_ about more Giants news and rumors. Hit me up over there.